Good morning, students. In this class, I will be talking about electronic conversion of manuscripts. So, manuscript is something which is written by the author, and to become a printed book, it has to go through different stages, and digital coding of manuscript is one of them. In this class, we will be trying to understand how to capture the text electronically. So, if a book or any part of it is to be published in a medium other than print, the content and the structure need to be captured by detailed digital coding. So, you should do a digital coding to capture the content and structure of a manuscript. And it is done by using these markup languages. One is SGML, that is Standard Generalized Markup Language. HTML, it is Hypertext Markup Language. XML, it is Extensible Markup Language, or XHTML, it is Extensible Hypertext Markup Language. So these are the markup languages which do digital coding and convert a manuscript into electronic form. If the text and illustrations are encoded by these digital coding in an accurate form, that product can be converted into various types such as ebooks, CD-ROMs, or web pages. And it is possible for a copy editor with the appropriate software and expertise to apply this coding as part of an on-screen editing process. A copy editor with certain amount of expertise, along with that he need to have an appropriate software, and he can convert this manuscript into electronic form with this digital coding. But it is more complex than simple structural identifications of textual features such as headings, displayed matter, and footnote that was once part of traditional copy editing. So, traditional copy editing did only simple structural identifications. But now this process, digital coding, is more complex than this simple structural identifications which happened in the traditional form. Many publishers therefore prefer their copy editors to concentrate more on the editorial content of the book and to have the digital coding handled as semi-automated process by the typesetter. So usually publishing houses prefer the typesetter to do the digital coding, but it is said that copy editor is also a suitable person to do the digital coding. So we'll look at the reasons in the later slides. So, of all those markup languages, copy editing or the publishing houses prefer XML coding. XML, as I said earlier, it stands for Extensible Markup Language, and true to its name, XML is a way of marking up a text. Think of it like color coding for manuscripts, as you see in that picture of a book with a color code. Think of it like a color coding. For example, you highlight standard paragraph text in yellow. Chapter titles can be given blue color code, poems in orange, italics in red. Except instead of using colors, here in XML, you enclose the text in a set of tags, that identifies what type of material it is, just like you see in this example. So there is this tag. So the first tag before para, it tells whoever is looking at it where that type of text begins. And the closing tag with there is a forward slash says where it ends. By the time you are finished, every word of the manuscript should be inside some sort of tag. Most of the time, that will be the paragraph tag, but every time you come across text that either has special formatting or is not a normal paragraph, you will give it a separate tag to identify what it is. So there will be tags like para everywhere, and for unique set you will give different tags like chapter title, poem, etc. And there are something known as nested tags too. This means that sometimes you put tags inside another tag. These are called nested tags. So this is the markup language, or this is known as the XML coding, a kind of a digital coding which convert manuscript magazine into an electronic product. Here we give more preference to XML coding because unlike the other forms of codings such as HTML, there isn't a set list of tags. So HTML coding contains a predefined set of tags, while here the person doing, he can be a typesetter, he can be a copy editor, he can use a set of tags which is which can be of his own choice. So most publishing houses that XML code their manuscripts will create a style sheet. So they will have a unique set of tags which they will use in their XML coding, and they ensure that a consistency is maintained from book to book. The point is that HTML has a predefined set of tags. We can't alter the tags, it is there. But in XML coding, the person who does that, or the publishing house who do that, can create their own set of tags, and they can maintain that set of tags to ensure consistency. The purpose is to make the designer's life easier by clearly marking where they should begin and end formatting. It also gives them a way to quickly navigate the document through the find command. They can do a search of the document for the tag and quickly format all chapter names with the style they have created. And similarly, by searching for the tag, they can make certain that there are no buried italicized text which was missed. As I said earlier, HTML and XML are very similar, but HTML is meant for the internet, for the web pages maybe. XML is used to design text for both digital and print. So, book designing houses prefer XML, and that is the one suitable for converting manuscripts into electronic forms. As I said earlier, this XML coding can be done by a typesetter, can be done by a designer, can also be done by copy editor. But usually we should say that the copy editor is the right person, is the most suitable person to do the XML coding. Why? Why not this digital department? Why not this design department? So these are the questions. Talking about this digital department and design department, the problem is that before a designer does what they do with a document, that is design it, they have to know what the document is ultimately supposed to look like. Even the digital department may not have a clue about how this document look like. So both digital and design department actually comes at the receiving end of the XML line. I'm trying to tell you that. So editing department is the most apt department to do XML coding. It is in this editing department we find a copy editor. The process of inserting XML into a manuscript typically comes after this copy editing stage, during which the editing department must have spent lots of time over this manuscript and have become very familiar with it. Since the editing team has already spent so much time in communication with the author and text, it will be easy for them to map out the author's design wishes, which falls to them. As I said earlier, all these people can do this XML coding, but editing department, and in that copy editor will be the apt person to do XML coding because he is the person who spends most of the time with the manuscript. XML therefore bridges the gap between a manuscript's editing stage at the beginning and the design stage which comes after. During this XML insertion process, a manuscript goes through three different stages, which includes the first one is non-formatted text, which is not formatted at all. Second, it becomes formatted text, and later it becomes fully designed text. So as I said earlier, XML TypeScript, it is more popular and is considered as the industry standard because of its flexibility and ability to encode text and illustrations of any complexity. And this XML coding can be applied before or after copy editing. And we should say that if the coding is to be applied before copy editing, the publisher usually sends the author's final disk or electronic files to the typesetter as soon as the book enters production, and it is the duty of the typesetter to generate encoded files that can be used to produce the printing files for the book and also files for electronic purpose, like to convert into ebooks even. And this printed form of encoded files or a printout of the encoded files is called a XML typescript. The printed form of encoded files is known as XML typescript. A manuscript which is XML coded and printed, it is known as XML typescript. And what are the advantages for publisher for using XML coded TypeScript before copy editing? So here you must understand that it is the typesetter who is doing the encoding, coding duty, digital coding, and he is sending it for copy editing. So what are the advantages of using this XML coding before copy editing? If it is done before copy editing, the advantages are like there will be like all those sample chapters from this book can be loaded onto the publisher's website, and it can be circulated to bibliographers, the people who do the bibliography, and it can be also sent to online booksellers so that the book can benefit from maximum publicity and marketing at an early stage. Second one, it is cheaper to do it at the origin itself, at the initial point itself, rather than doing at a later stage. Third one, if the indexing is made by the XML process, indexing is the list of words and phrases you see at the end of a book. If index is made through XML process, we will be able to understand the extent of book. The extent of book can be known sooner, and we can think about the cost and price of the book, and even we can print the jacket of the book. So XML coding help us to understand the extent of the book. Along with that, XML coding also helps to understand the changes in pagination, which is done automatically during this XML coding process. Now the advantages for copy editor. Later it was advantages for publisher. Now what are the advantages for copy editor for using XML coded TypeScript before copy editing? So if copy editor has an XML coded TypeScript in front of him rather than a manuscript written by the author, he can have a clear double spaced printout rather than the hard copy provided by the author, and he can easily work on it. And usually when the typesetter sends this XML coded printout to the copy editor, he ensures that he sends an identical printout of the same to the author too, so that he can clarify the queries of a copy editor. And along with that, another advantage is that XML coded TypeScript will have an auto-generated content list from chapter heading, which will make the job of the copy editor easier. Along with that, there will be validation of notes and line numbering, which also helps the copy editor, or which is the job of the copy editor. So usually copy editors prefer XML typescripts rather than the manuscripts provided by the author. And as I said earlier, the author too will have the same copy and they can discuss the changes and rectifications. We must also talk about the advantage of not having XML coding until after copy editing. It also, there is one advantage of not having an XML coding, like working on the original manuscript. Here the copy editor has the advantage of working with authors on files, which can be a hard copy or it can be on screen, but there he can see more clearly the author's original intentions. So these are the main points related to electronic conversion of manuscripts. Hope it is clear. These are the basic points, like we need to convert a manuscript into a digital form, and we use something known as digital coding for this conversion, and there are different markup languages used for this conversion. Among that, we prefer XML coding. XML coding is a markup language in which the text is we use a set of tags to mark up the entire text, and this XML coding can be done. Some publishing houses prefer copy editors to do that. Some allow typesetters to do that. Some allow designers to do that. And it it is said that the copy editor is the right person to do that. Even the typesetter can do. It depends upon the publishing house to decide who will do that. And later we talked about XML Typescript, which is the printout of the encoded file, which is given by the typesetter to the copy editor, and an identical printout is also given to an author. And there are a lot of various advantages for using an XML Typescript. So from the publisher's side, it can bring maximum publicity, and it can be used for marketing. It is more cheaper. And when you think from the copy editor's side, his job becomes more easier if he works in an XML typescript rather than working in a author written work. And in the last slide we talked that we try to understand that even a copy editor can work in an original work which is not XML coded, and it has one advantage of understanding the author's intentions clearly. So these are the basic points we discussed. Hope it is clear. I know that this is completely a new topic. Please listen to this lecture carefully. If you have any doubts, we will clear it in our live class. Thank you, girls. Have a nice day.